Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again for our bi-weekly guided meditation and live stream. I'm Vladimir. I'm the founder of the Blue Lotus Meditation and Mindfulness Center here in central Minnesota, so in Brainerd. So if you have an opportunity, you're certainly welcome to come visit us, or certainly welcome to join us via our bi-weekly live streams and plenty of other video opportunities as well. So thank you for spending some of your time with us this evening. Today is September 30th. It's now 6 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone. So just before we begin, just some brief announcements. Our weekly Sanghas, right? For our Healing Sangha, our Veteran Sangha, New Beginning Sangha, a Rainbow Sangha, a Welcoming Sangha, and a Teen Sangha. These are all wonderful virtual opportunities that you can find the support and the guidance and the nurturing that you may be looking for to help you along your mindfulness and your meditation journey. They're all held via Skype, and there's no fee. Again, they're all free. Just register, and we'll send you the link, and you come join us and meet new friends as well from all around the world. It's one of the benefits of a virtual offering, is that there can be friends and practitioners from all over the world joining us. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to learn and to share with others. So before we begin, we always begin with our 3 jewels before we begin our tonight's topic. So I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Very well, thank you. So tonight's topic is learning to love yourself. That can be a hard action to really enact sometimes, because we can be very hard on ourselves. We can beat ourselves up for perhaps not accomplishing a goal that we set out, or even doing something that maybe in hindsight that we wish, maybe we didn't, we wish that we didn't do. So tonight we're going to explore some different ways how to really learn to love ourselves and to nurture our own well-being without being hard on ourselves. And to go along with that, our tonight's guided meditation is nurturing your happiness. And so go ahead, you can take a moment to get into your comfortable position, whatever that is. You may close your eyes or keep them slightly open with a soft focus looking downward, a few feet in front of you if you choose. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And here now, you're invited to allow that half smile to rest on your face as well. Go ahead and allow your spine to lift and your shoulders to soften. And soften your belly as you continue settling in. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. And let's meditate on nurturing your own happiness. realizing that all of our lives will have moments of joy and sadness. And oftentimes, sad thoughts may be seeds of despair. And thoughts of despair can oftentimes water hopelessness. And no being is ever hopeless. I am not hopeless. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. I am capable of experiencing joy. I am capable of sharing joy. And to share joy, I simply let go of expectations of the past. The past cannot be changed. To share joy, I simply let go of expectations for the future. For the future has yet to arrive. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. To share joy, I embrace the present moment. I smile deeply. My smile shares joy with others. My smile nurtures my well-being. My smile nurtures well-being in others. Breathe in. Pause. And breathe out. To reap happiness in this life, I sow good deeds. My good deeds are seeds of happiness. Go ahead. You can begin to open your eyes slowly. Look about you or reorientate yourselves before moving around. Sometimes sitting for a few moments can, we get our legs a little stiff sometimes, right? Maybe hard to stand up sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we don't allow happiness to blossom or to grow inside us. Sometimes we don't treat ourselves very well in those instances. So that's why we're focusing tonight's Dharma talk on learning to love yourself. And there are many ways to do that. And there's certainly some wrong ways, right, that are actually hurtful. And we may think that they're loving actions, but they can be very harmful to us. And so learning to love yourself really involves learning to live in a wholesome life, right? One that is kind and caring and compassionate. And when I think of this, I think of the 5 precepts, right? So just to recall, to refresh, the 5 precepts, right? No killing, no lying, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, nor taking intoxicants. And those are important, right? Sometimes when we have perhaps a bad day or perhaps even too good of a day, maybe we overindulge, right? And that can lead to suffering or unhappiness, right? But it also involves right speech, how we talk to others. Are we building them up when we speak to them, or are we trying to tear them down? Right? So right speech would always involve building up. Not that you can't critique or criticize someone, but it's how we go about saying those words. And right effort. Right? Are we putting in the right effort to really nurture our own well-being? Because when we have a solid foundation in our own well-being, we start to like ourselves. And when we start to like ourselves, we go that extra step and we start to love ourselves. Right? So we have to put in a right effort in learning to love ourselves. And when we have right effort, we also have right action. Right? Thinking about, is what I'm getting ready to do, does that help somebody? Does it help me? Or does it harm them? And so society would oftentimes, promote some unhealthy activities and saying, well, you've had a hard day, go ahead and relax with this, or whatnot. And so those will not always be right actions, because sometimes maybe too much indulgence, right? Maybe we don't practice right speech. Right? Maybe we don't practice right effort. And so changing our own perceptions, our own behaviors, which is hard to do sometimes. Right? It's hard to do. However old you are, those are probably that many years of in a certain behavior, acting in a certain way, and understanding that sometimes those actions not only hurt others, but they harm ourselves. They're not loving to ourselves. And so encompassing the 5 precepts and right speech, right effort, and right action, sometimes we have to say yes, right? Sometimes there may be a yes involved, especially at your job, right? Or maybe perhaps buying something, or somebody asking you a question. if you want to do some type of activity, right? So when is it appropriate to say yes? And we really have to think about this sometimes. Would that result of saying yes harm you? Right? So maybe we don't think about that right away, right? But that's where the right effort comes in, right? We can contemplate, is this action going to harm myself in the long run? And does this result of saying yes, or does the result of saying yes, could it harm others? Right? We have to think about that one as well. Does it harm others? Just because we can get away with something, right? Saying yes to something and maybe somebody would never know, that still harms them because maybe you're violating their trust, right? Being shady, being a little sneaky, right? That person has trusted you. And so saying yes to an action, we have to make sure that it's not going to harm us in the short term or even the long term, just as well as, is it going to harm us in the short term or the long term? And we can always look at, conversely now, when do we say no? Again, we apply those same critiques or those same contemplations, not critiques, contemplations. Would saying no result in harming me, the individual, or you yourself? So we have to think about that. Would me saying no, is that going to hurt my own well-being? Perhaps it's a therapy session, right? Maybe you perhaps are involved in, have an addiction. Maybe you are given an opportunity during some type of an intervention, right? So an intervention is when a group of people, along with a trained medical professional or practitioner, and offer to take you to some rehabilitation center. So saying no in that situation, would that hurt you? Yeah, probably. It would also, to some degree, result in the other aspect. Could that harm someone else? Right? So, and when we consider the word harming, it's not only physical actions, right? Are you physically harming them? But it's also the mental, right? It's also how they feel, the emotions inside them. Is that harming them as well? So we would never want to hurt anyone, right? And we certainly don't want to hurt ourselves. So these are important questions, important, important circumstances to really consider, to really mindfully contemplate before making those yes or no decisions. But sometimes, right? Sometimes we can be stubborn, right? We can be stubborn in our own actions, hard-headed, pig-headed, right? So when do we know when it's time to let go? And this is an important one too, because we all like to accomplish what we set out to do. It makes sense, right? We are embarking on an action or a course of actions that are hopefully designed to benefit us or our loved ones. But sometimes we have to realize it's time to let go of that course of action. Maybe that path just isn't, going to give you the fruition. Doesn't mean your goal won't, eventually arrive, but maybe that particular path. So when a course of action that we are doing becomes obsessive. It's certainly a time that we need to consider to letting go, to stopping that action. And certainly when something becomes obsessive, it can become unhealthy. So perhaps you're interested in losing some weight, right? And you start off with a nice, healthy exercise program, right? And as you progress, right, maybe you try some more, some different, different techniques. Maybe even try some certain medications, right? And you find yourself losing weight, but maybe it becomes too obsessive, right? Now you're underweight, unhealthy, right? So when do we let go? When it becomes obsessive or unhealthy to our own well-being. Sometimes that can be hard to realize, and so sometimes we actually have friends or family members that may be kind enough and wise enough to bring that to our attention. So then that brings us, when do we let others help us? Right? It's always nice to be independent, but no one is truly independent of everything. You didn't get where you are completely by yourself. And what does that mean? You didn't go out and milk the cows, right? To get the milk on in your refrigerator, unless you got a farm, right? But you certainly didn't build the tractor or the car, right? So you had to rely on somebody else to do that, right? So we can break that down, or we can examine that level of independence, from many different ways. So when do we let others help us? When we know that we are overwhelmed. So how do we know that we are overwhelmed? Well, physically, maybe our body responds a certain way. Maybe we're sick. Maybe we get cramps. Maybe you're just wanting to call out sick from work a lot. You just don't feel well physically or emotionally, right? We know that we are overwhelmed emotionally. We get these thoughts going through our heads that, why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why am I on this path? It's just so overwhelming, right? And so we ask ourselves, or we allow ourselves to seek or accept assistance from others. So loving ourselves isn't always going out there and buying a new dress or buying new shoes or going on a shopping spree, right? Loving ourselves is how we feel about ourselves and how we treat ourselves with wholesomeness, with the love and kindness and compassion that we would offer somebody else, a stray animal. If you could offer that love and kindness to a stray animal, you can certainly offer that love and kindness to yourself. And when we learn how to just pick up on how we are feeling emotionally and physically, that's a good step in the right direction. And then going through those little checklists, those little questions that we can ask ourselves. Does this hurt me? Does this hurt others? Is this healthy behavior? Is this unhealthy behavior? Both short-term and long-term. So just questions to think about. Right? Too often, we're interested in immediate gratification. But remember that the behaviors that you're most likely doing right now, you've been doing them for a long time. So it's hard to break habits. So you can just think about them, right? Very first step is always think about, what am I doing that's hurtful or harmful? Am I building someone up? Am I tearing them down? Building up is always a strong way to nurture our own well-being, because we're talking positively towards someone else. And our mind hears that. It takes note of that. So when we talk kindly to others, we're also talking kindly to ourselves. So just some ideas to think about, ways to learn to really love ourselves in an appropriate and a safe and a nurturing manner. So something to think about, something to practice as you go along. So our next talk will be on the 14th of October, so in 2 weeks. Bi-weekly, right? So every 2 weeks we are here. September was nice. We had 3 different offerings. Just the way it rolls, right? Just the way it goes. So other months only have 2. September, we had a bonus extra Monday. So our next talk is on October 14th at 6 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. You can always catch us on the replay, on the video download, or if you like. If you're not able to make it, always welcome to. And with that, we'll close with the 3 jewels to the Buddha once again. I take refuge to the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Sathu, Sathu, Sathu. And with that, my friends, I wish you all a wonderful evening of joy and happiness and calmness. And thank you for coming out and spending some of your precious time with us this evening. And many blessings to you all. We'll see you in 2 weeks.